Hi. World Economic Forum continues. The main day was yesterday, or at least the first day was yesterday. Klaus Schwab gave his opening address, and I thought we might listen to a few of his wonderful words.
Your Royal Highnesses, Excellencies, distinguished heads of state and government, Excellencies, dear partners and friends of the World Economic Forum, a very cordial welcome to the 2023 annual meeting. We are coming together under the motto, Cooperation in a Fragmented World. At the beginning of this year, we are confronted with unprecedented and multiple challenges. First, our global economy is undergoing deep transformation. The energy transition, the consequences of COVID, the reshaping of supply chains are all serving as catalytic forces for the economic transformation.
So those were his opening remarks, and he's talking about economic transformation. And of course, many people suggesting that the World Economic Forum and that gathering is the melting pot for global policy. Perhaps this gives us a clue. Here's Mark Carney. We'll just remind everybody what he said back in 2019. We will not get to net zero in a niche. It requires a whole economy transition. And Klaus Schwab, here we are in 2023, talking about this deep transition of the economy. Just as a reminder, Carney went on to say companies that don't adapt, including companies in the financial system, will go bankrupt without question. Now, some people may say that that's merely an observation from him, but then when we hear what else he said, which was there will be industry sectors and firms that do very well during this process because they'll be part of the solution, but there will also be ones that lag behind and they will be punished. Those were his words. So it's very clear that the transition is well underway. Klaus Schwab seems to be celebrating it there. But he went on. Let's listen to the next little section.
There are superpowers, emerging powers, middle powers, regional powers, rogue states, and also large corporate and social media powers, all competing increasingly for power and influence. As a result, the trend is again moving towards increased fragmentation and confrontation. Thirdly, our generation has reached a turning point, confronted by truly existential problems: climate change, exploitation of nature, nuclear possible incidents, or even wars, extreme poverty, and viruses. They all can lead to an extinction of large parts of our global population.
And so you've got to ask the question.
Well, my question is, who is this man? Of course, he's not reported on the BBC, he's not talked about in British media and elsewhere to any great extent. Who is this man that puts himself up as leader of the world?
This is a very good question. Alex, what are your thoughts on what he said there?
Even through the hammy accent, you cannot fail to notice the barely contained glee at the idea of the extinction of part of the world's population. Perhaps Kenny will put in the show notes my reading, with permission again, of Johnny Vedmore's article, which when I read it from my YouTube channel, I entitled, Who is Klaus Schwab? Johnny Vedmore, who now writes for UK column, more forthcoming, is very, very good at wheedling out the backstory of this guy. He was co-opted by a range of people, Henry Kissinger being one, in the Harvard milieu. Kissinger himself had pre-war British mentors, and they're in a clutch together. Superannuated Germans who tell the Anglo-Americans what to do. They ham up the Nazi Act to hide the fact that it's a city of and Wall Street and Swiss plan as much as it is a German. And Schwab is a cross-border figure. His backstory, going back 4 generations, is cross-border German-Swiss industry making extremely dirty deals on the back of various kinds of slave labor and supplying illegal nuclear technology. to various wayward regimes. Kissinger, who's now very nearly 100, addressed the Davos crowd yesterday, by the way, by video link. I think he doesn't travel very much anymore. And said, now is the time, I've changed my mind, now is the time to bring Ukraine into NATO, because all the hoo-ha that I said would happen if we did, and which caused me to be tentative and hold back, has happened now anyway, which you can equally well read as with Schwab stuff. We've caused the chaos, now let us bathe in it.
Indeed. Right, well, let's have a final clip from Klaus Schwab then, because he's talking about who's helping the World Economic Forum agenda and who's getting in the way.
We have the ability to collaboratively build a more peaceful, resilient, inclusive and sustainable world. But to do so, we need to overcome the most critical fragmentation. And the most critical fragmentation is between those who take a constructive attitude and those who are just bystanders, observers, and even go into the negative, critical, and confrontational attitude.
So, of course, Alex, it's very easy to have a peaceful world if there's nobody in it. But I thought it was interesting that he was clearly concerned about those who are providing some kind of opposition or resistance to what the World Economic Forum is selling.
I detected a note of pain in his voice there. How could my children desert me? That's us. We're the naughty boys. We're destined for the camps. But those whom we are seeking to win over by good reason, he describes as the just bystanders. It's almost as bad that they fail to be enthused for whatever your preferred sci-fi term is for the New World Order, for the regime or for the uncles or whatever. He doesn't like that either. The hearts and minds just have to be won somehow. So we're going to have to be got out of the way. And with that in mind, it's no surprise that Rebel News with Avi Yemini, I know a controversial man, but I think a brave one yesterday, turned up at the CNBC local headquarters in Davos and asked them on their doorstep, filming properly and lawfully in public, and managed to entice them out, asking them, why aren't you doing your job? Why am I having to do it for you? And Patrick Allen, one of the vice presidents of CNBC, got so shirty that it is Yemini's claim, it's not audible in the YouTube clip published by Rebel News, but Yemini claims that as Mr. Allen, who's a Brit, by the way, stormed back into the CNBC hut in Davos, he said he'll be punched out for that. So it's not surprising, really, because CNBC is, of course, like so many other media companies, owned by a WEF member with a seat at the table. In CNBC's case, that would be Comcast.
Yes. To go along with the Davos conference itself, the World Economic Forum has published this year's Global Risks Report. So let's just have a quick look and see what they perceive as the global risks over the coming years. So in the next 2 years, the cost of living crisis is the biggest risk, followed by natural disasters and extreme weather events, followed by what they're terming geoeconomic confrontation. You or I might use the term war. And followed by that, failure to mitigate climate change, erosion of social cohesion and societal polarization, large-scale environmental damage, incidents, failure of climate change adaptation, widespread cybercrime and cyber insecurity, natural resource crises, large-scale involuntary migration is at number 10. And they perceive that over the course of the following 8 years that the risk of war is going to decline, but climate change becomes the top priority. Do you see that? Do you see that risk of war declining?
No, not at all. And I think this is because their plan is not working, which I'll try and introduce to our viewers in the next section.
Well, let's go on with it then.
Well, before we go there, we better get on the subject of bugs, and let's bring in Debbie, because Debbie, you've spotted something to do with the World Economic Forum and what they would have us eating, it seems.
I was actually going to offer it to Herr Schwab because he could taste it, because this is the latest thing that the WEF are going to be recommending, and we've got Beetleburgers. So this is a French biotech company, sorry, nearly said the wrong company then, biotech company called Yinsect. And this is mealworms and insect larvae. It's mixed with sugar. And then you've got your very own Beetleburger, or maybe chicken nuggets. I mean, whatever next. Maybe we could have McBeatles, perhaps. Just saying. Maybe I'd like to serve it up to Herr Schwab today, since he's recommending it. Maybe he could be the first taster. What do you think?
Well, not just today, Debbie. I think today, tomorrow, every day for the next 5 years, and then we'll check out how he is. But against the background of the power that is obviously in that room for the World Economic Forum, decisions being made transnationally is